All right, this is Math 209, Week 4, Section 10.1. We're still doing those wonderful square roots and cube roots and fourth roots and all those kinds of things. So when we are asked to simplify, it is a custom. It is just a rule that we follow, that we're always going to give the positive, like the positive scenario. For example, this simplifies to the square root of 1. Now, how did I get that? Well, this negative 1 squared means negative 1 times negative 1, which is 1. So I just took this and I simplified it, so it's the square root of 1. Now you think of this, and this is saying what times itself is equal to 1. And you have a choice. You could either say 1 times 1 is 1, or you could say negative 1 times negative 1 is 1. But it is customary to only give the positive solution. So that's why this answer is 1. More of the same. We're going to simplify this expression. So the idea is, and I'm going to shrink this a little bit here, and I have a special way that I teach this, which is the square root of y to the 8th power. So first off, we have to remember that that's a 2 there. If they don't have a number, it means it's a 2. And we're going to say, well, that's equal to the square root of, and I'm going to go y times 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 y. Of course, there's 8 of them. So here's the idea. Whenever this is a 2, this means you can circle 2 y's and take it out. And this means circle 2 y's and take 1 out. This means circle 2 y's and take 1 out. Circle the 2 y's, take 1 out, and then in. So here we're going to be simplifying this radical expression, and this is a square root. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go x squared minus 6x plus 9. I'm going to use my box, and I'm going to factor this. And I know that x squared is going to go there, positive 9 is going to go there. So we know these are going to be x's, these are going to be 3's. And so when I put our internal terms, we get 3x and 3x, but we want them to add up. We want these guys to equal negative 6x, which means both of these need to be negatives, which means this is negative 3. So this is really x minus 3 times x minus 3. So we can move over. So the square root of x squared minus 6x plus 9 is equal to the square root of x minus 3 times x minus 3. Now remember, there's a 2 here. And this means whenever you have 2 of something, you can circle them, cross them off, and write 1 of them outside of the root symbol. So what do we have left inside the root symbol? We have nothing. It's blank. So that means this can go away, and our answer is x minus 3. But it's customary to always give us the positive value. So you need to make sure we all understand that it's supposed to be the positive value. We use the absolute value symbols to say it's supposed to be positive. Even if this was to accidentally be a negative number, we want it to be a positive number, and that's what this absolute value symbol is. So this is your official answer. All right, so what does this mean? Well, the 20th root of y to the 20th means the 20th root of, and I'm going to go y, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So there's y to the 20th. So I just took this y to the 20th and I wrote it out here in expanded notation. And the thing I want you to remember is when this is a 20 right here, this means take 20 of them and circle them, cross them off, and write one of them. And what are we left with inside the root notation here? It's the 20th root of blank, because there's nothing left over, which means we can make all of that go away, and our answer is simply y. And let's check to make sure I'm right. Whew! Yes. Now, why is it the absolute value? It's because, remember, it always needs to be positive. And since y is a variable that could be negative, we need to ensure that it's a positive by having that absolute value symbol. All right, this problem is exactly like the previous problem. So you've got the 10th root of y to the 10th. And so that means the 10th root of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this is the 10th root of y times 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 y. So they are all being multiplied. And the Habecker simple special way of doing this is you say, well, since this is 10, the 10th root, that's saying we need to circle 10 y's, cross them off, and write one y outside of the root notation. And what's left on the inside? In this case, nothing. Which means this junk right here is totally unneeded. We don't need it at all. And so the answer is just y. But we need it to be the positive variation of y, not the negative variation of y. And so that's why we say the absolute value of y. And let's see. Yep, and there. That tells me I was right. Yay. All right, so this one looks ugly. Simplify. All right, but it's not. It's actually pretty simple if you use the Duane version. So you got the third root of, and you've got 125 times x minus 7 raised to the third. All right, so now if you do some expanded notation, this 125 is really 5 times 5 times 5. And then this x minus 7 raised to the third power is really times x minus 7 times x minus 7 times x minus 7. All right? And so the Duane version of taking care of exponents or square roots is this is a 3, so that means you circle 3 5s, you cross them out, and you write one of them outside of the root notation. And then we've got 3 of these, so you circle 3 of them, you cross them out, and you write one of them outside the root notation. And what's left on the inside of that third root? Nothing. It's totally blank, which means we don't need it anymore. It's gone. So the answer is 5 times x minus 7. All right. Now, that is the answer. Now, it's possible my math lab may want you to use the distributive property and write down the answer 5x minus 35. So one of these two answers is going to be the right one. Now, we don't need to worry about the absolute value symbol, although you could. That should also be correct. But we don't need the absolute values in this case because when the root is an odd number, it means it has to be positive. It has to work. There is no choice. The negative one won't work, so you don't need to make it positive. So one of these two, I would go with this one first, is your best answer.